Hello again guys, I'm Juanja from Bone Studio and today it's a tutorial day. So remember that in the last video we were seeing how can we recreate different materials using the new over shader from Blender 2.79, the principled shader. So in this case we're going to see how can we recreate transmissive materials. This means glass materials or glassy materials, transparent materials. So this is the picture I showed you in the last video, and we're going to see how can we recreate those two materials. And I changed this material a bit from the last time to make it a bit more complex. So we have some kind of bluish plastic, transparent plastic with some kind of green fog inside of it. So let's go to it. Let me create the box. Shift C, and here we are. Okay, so how can we recreate this glass material? This is pretty simple, pretty straightforward. We just have the in multi-scatter GGX is the default. So we are in multi-scatter GGX, and we just have to increase the transmission to 1, and that's it. That's it. Then we have a reflective material, a glass material. We can change its index of refraction. If we use an index of refraction of 1, we get a perfectly transparent and practically invisible material. If we go to 1.5, we get a glass material because the glass index of refraction is around 1.5, 1.53. So okay, now in the documentation it says we have to configure the specularity, the specular value correctly to achieve the reflections, but I personally don't see any change. If I go and configure this at 0, I still see the reflections. I'm not sure if this is a bug or not, but I can see the reflections. And if I go to 1 or I go to 100, the reflections are exactly the same. So how can we increase the reflectivity of the material in case we want to fake its reflectivity? I'm going to let this to 0.5. We can use the clear coat. The clear coat, it's like a coat over the material that we have. So the microscopic details of the material, it's not going to affect that coat. It means that the roughness, for example, is not going to affect that coat. So we can go here and put 1.0, and then we are increasing the reflectivity, and we can go and configure 100, and we are giving it more reflectivity even. And here we can configure its roughness, and we can mix both reflectivity, so we have some kind of effect between a completely clear reflection and blurry reflection. In this case, the specular is okay. One little detail about this material: you must have enabled in the render settings the refractive caustics. If you don't have the refractive caustics enabled, you are going to get some weird shadows. If we go to index of refraction of 1, you can see how we get some strange shadows. And some people say, no, you have to enable in the material, you have to enable transparent shadows. Okay, I have transparent shadows enabled and it's not working. So no matter if I enable or disable it, it's not working for me. And other people say, no, it's the ambient occlusion that have some problem. Okay, I can go here. It was here. No, it was here. I can go here, enable and disable it, and it has no effect at all. So in the end, you must have the refractive caustics enabled. Okay, and then you get the correct behavior. Now, another detail or feature that we have in the principled shader. By default, we use the multi-scatter GGX shader. That is the most correct shader, most realistic and physically correct. But we can change this to standard GGX, and this gives us a transmission roughness. This means that in this case, we can see that if we go to multi-scatter GGX and we give the glass some roughness, for example 1, we get two types of roughness in one value. So we get the reflectivity, the reflection roughness, and the refraction or transmission roughness. But if we go to 0, we go to GGX, we get this transmission roughness. So we can set this to 1, and we get the refraction roughness, but the reflection, as you can see, are perfectly clear. Okay, you can see here the shape, it's a perfectly clear reflection. So if you want to have, for example, glass, how it's called, well, some kind of iced glass, you can use this feature to get these reflections and get the roughness of the refraction. But I think the correct way to simulate this is to use roughness at 1 and then use a clear coat to get the reflections. Increase the clear coat as much as you need, and then you can see here the clear reflections. Maybe 20 is too much, but that's it. Okay, so you may change this to use the transmission roughness for the refraction roughness and the standard roughness for the reflection roughness, or you can leave this here in multi-scatter, and then roughness is going to be used for both values, for reflection and refraction. Let's leave this at 0. Okay, now let's go to the more complicated material. This one, it was some kind of a challenge material, because it mixes several things. As you can see here, we have the principal shader mixed with volume absorption shader, mixed with procedural displacement. For this I used the adaptive displacement. Okay, yeah, I added. I'm not sure if it's in the standard feature set, in the supported feature set or not, but I use the experimental, and then I enable here adaptive, and you can change its definition here inside geometry, and you have the render and the preview quality. Okay, so we have here the displacement. It's just a border texture with some color changes. We have the volume absorption, we will see the effect later, and we have the principal BSDF. Let's remove the displacement at the volume. Okay, here we have our glassy material, of glass, with some roughness, as I told you. Here we have the roughness, the transmission to 1, and the base color that is defining our color. So I added a volume shader to make it have some kind of foggy insides. So if we connect the volume shader, you immediately see it changing. And if we go here, you can see how are we mixing the principal shader with a volume shader with no problem. And finally, we connect the displacement. We have to reset the viewport render, and we have this kind of strange plastic material with some green foggy inside. As I said, this is pretty simple, pretty straightforward. If you want a glass with roughness, just transmission at 1, roughness with the value you want, and color the glass with this color. If you want to control the reflectivity, the reflections of the glass separately from the refractions, the roughness of the reflections and refractions, let's go to reset this. You just enable GGX, and then we can give the reflections perfectly clear reflections. We can check this here, and the transmission roughness to 1 if we want, or 2.3 for example. You can see the effect here. You can see that we get perfect reflections and this blurry refraction. For example, 0.6 blurry refraction. Okay, and that's it. That's how you create transparent materials with the new principal shader. I hope you liked the video. If you liked it, please press the like button. Subscribe to the channel if you want more to see more videos like this in Spanish and English. And that's it for today. See you in the next video, guys. Bye.